Hey everybody, welcome back. Tack för sist, välkommen tillbaka. Just getting ready to go to work. It's Mother's Day, so we just went out for a nice family dinner with my wife and 3 of our 4 kids. It was really nice. The restaurant we wanted to go to was actually just crazy busy. I mean, it's a fairly small place and it was well over an hour. So we went to a coffee shop that we really liked that has some good food and just sat around and talked. It was a lot of fun. So today I want to talk about by the way, I'm just getting ready to go to work. That's why I got the beat up hat and the shirt. I think I already said that. Today I want to talk about, I don't know if I've even mentioned this before. I probably have, but I graduated from BYU. Now, I started college in 1981. I did not graduate until the spring of 95. And there were a lot of reasons for that. I changed my majors many times. I was a few credits away from like 4 different degrees. Could never decide on anything. I left, got married, had a kid, worked for a long time. Finally, after my divorce, I went back and I finished in the spring of 95. So it was a long process for me. So I was at BYU the first time in 1986. And if any of you aren't familiar, it's a Mormon school, LDS school, that has pretty strict standards. Although from everything I've heard, they've slackened a lot. In fact, I was checking some research on ChatGPT and it said in 91 they loosened it up quite a bit. When I was there in 86, so I started at Rick's College, which was another Mormon school, very strict. Now, there are lots of ways around that. I knew lots of people, including me, that didn't always live it. I tried, it's not like I was going there to flaunt the rules or stuff, but when you're 18, 19, early 20s, you are what you are. And I don't care what religion you are. I think all of us kind of have the same needs and desires and wants and want to have fun in life, especially when you're young like that. I won't talk so much about Rick's. I'm going to talk about BYU. So in 86 when I was there, it was still quite strict. Men's hair could not, like this wouldn't be legal. Your hair could not touch your collar on your shirt. It had to be over the ears, above the collar. You could have no beard. I'm pretty sure now, watch the BYU football team. I mean, lots of long hair, beards, all of it. So I guess it's all allowed now, but you couldn't have a beard, you could have a mustache. Now, the basics were no tobacco, no alcohol, no coffee, no premarital sex, no homosexual behavior. They were very strict on that. And it's not just that church, lots of churches kind of believe in that. I'm a person that believes live and let live. Love who you want to love. If you're not hurting somebody else, I don't care. I get to love who I get to love, so everybody should have that right. But that's not the way it was looked at there. There were curfews in place, although those were tough to enforce, especially off campus. I never did live on campus at Rick's College or at BYU. I always was off campus. I never had anybody tell me you got to be in bed at a certain time or in your apartment, even though there was some sort of curfew. And I'm pretty sure the on-campus housing was a lot stricter about that. That being said, and for women, up until 1981, women were not allowed to wear jeans at BYU. I'm pretty sure when I was there, men weren't allowed to wear shorts. That might have changed while I was there or right before I got there, around that era. I remember one of the most ridiculous things I ever heard, and this was from before my time, probably in the 70s. The guys were not allowed to wear shoes or flip-flops without socks because your leg hair was an extension of some other hair. Let's just leave it at that. It's so stupid. Pretty sure that's gone by the wayside. In fact, I think that was gone when I got there. Yeah, quite strict. But that being said, like I said, I knew lots of people that partied, did their thing. I think most students that went to BYU were pretty good at living the rules. You also had to go to church. You had to get what's called an ecclesiastical endorsement from your bishop that said you went to church, you were a faithful member, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you were a non-member, I don't know what the rules were then. There's a lot more non-members there now than there were then. I knew a few, and I don't remember what the rules were for them, if they had to go to church. But we were required to. although that was easy to get around too. I did not go to church a whole lot. My roommates didn't go to church a whole lot. I did have a couple that were very faithful, went to church all their meetings every week. I was never into it. Even before I left the church, I just was not into it. It was the same talks every Sunday growing up my whole life. I got so tired of it. I'm like, I've had enough of this. I don't need this. All that being said, the partying, which happened a lot, like not like other universities, it's not Alabama or Mississippi or Georgia or Washington or California or wherever. It was very different, but there were plenty of people that did what they weren't supposed to do and got by. I always had an ecclesiastical endorsement. I don't know how. That being said, the closest I ever got to getting kicked out of BYU for an honor code violation was maybe the stupidest thing ever. So I used to go in the morning quite early after I got married. So this would have been in probably 89 or 90. And I would go early morning and play basketball before my ex-wife was up, and I would walk, and it was winter, and all I had worn was my gym clothes, and you had to also have BYU issued gym clothes, blue shorts, gray shirt. You couldn't just go play in a tank top or a t-shirt. You had to wear the endorsed clothing for BYU. Same with women. Anyway, I had a friend that worked at the PE department at BYU. And I guess they were getting rid of a bunch of the stuff, and they said he could take some of it. He gave me a set of it. So I had the t-shirt and the shorts. It was a cold day. It was probably in the low 40s. And I just walked to the gym, which was just a few blocks away, in just my shorts and t-shirt. I get there, and some kid who was playing, hall monitor, he was supposed to be enforcing the honor code. He was younger than me. I was, 26 at the time. He was probably like 19. And he came up to me and he says, you're out of violation. I said, what are you talking about? I've got the right clothes on. He's like, no, your mustache. I said, I'm allowed to have a mustache. And he said, yeah, but it can't be below the corners of your mouth. And I mean, we're talking, it's not like it is now. It was this little, just past the corner of my mouth. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. And he's like, nope, can't let you play. And I wasn't going to make a big fuss about it. So I'm like, whatever. And I started walking towards the exit, and he says, hey, wait. I'm like, what now? He says, you can't take the PE stuff with you. And I said, this is mine. He goes, that's not possible. Nobody owns that. Only BYU owns it. And I said, I don't know what to tell you. A friend gave me this, and it's mine. He says, you can't take it with you. I'm going to have to call whoever, BYU police. I don't know. I mean, what he threatened was ridiculous. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? I walked here. I don't have anything else. And he just was persistent. I'm like, well, I'm not walking home, in a jock strap. So I took my shirt off, threw it at him, walked out, walked home. A couple days later, sure enough, I don't even remember how he got my name or my student number or whatever it was. I got a call from one of the dean's offices to come meet with them. I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. This is stupid. I already thought a lot of the honor code was stupid. Still do. Just ridiculous. Why can't you have a beard? How dumb is that? Jesus had a freaking beard. Brigham Young had a beard. Half the prophets / presidents of the Mormon church had beards. Anyway, I went and met with this dean, and he was this persnickety, uppity, uptight tool. I won't use a really bad word that I want to use. But he was a tool. And he was very condescending from the get-go. First thing he says to me is, I noticed you haven't trimmed your mustache yet. And I'm like, seriously? What is it, an eighth of an inch too long? He's like, you know the rules. It's got to be above the corner of your mouth. And the way they wanted you to have a mustache, I didn't think looked good. I didn't want a mustache like that. I probably ended up shaving it. I don't remember. And then he says, and there's also the matter. Oh, the hummingbirds are here. Maybe you can hear them. Pretty cool. The matter of stealing the BYU clothes. I said, I didn't steal anything. He's like, yeah, you said a friend gave them to you. I need to know the name of that friend. I'm like, I ain't telling you that, so you can go fire him and kick him out of school? Not a chance. And I would not tell him. And he says, well, you're trimming that mustache or you're out. So like I said, I think I shaved it, but I would not tell him who my friend was. And he threatened me with booting me out of college. I said, this is beyond ridiculous. I'm a good student. You know, I live the rules as far as you know. And this is just ridiculous. I'm not telling you who my friend is. I don't think he did anything wrong, but I know what you'll do. You'll kick him out of school. So no. And he put me on probation. I can't remember for how long. I actually never heard from the guy again. I never found out if I was off probation at some point. There was no letter, there was nothing. It was just a verbal thing. And when I graduated, I actually wanted to go find the guy and tell him what I thought of him, because I thought he was just I'll use tool again, because I try not to, you know, in my everyday life, I'm not a big swearer, but I do swear. I just naturally, I grew up in a little town in Canada, everybody swore. But I try to keep it relatively calm here. So if you see me struggle sometimes for a word, it's because I'm thinking of saying something. I'm like, I don't need to say that here. So we'll stick with tool, but it was way harder than that. In my brain, I'm thinking something way, way harder than that. So yeah, I struggled with the honor code, obviously. I just thought it was way too strict. And back then they did enforce it. Everything I hear now is it's much calmer. There are much more get your words straight, Arnold. Many more non-members going to BYU now than when I was there. When I was there, I want to say it was like 1% to 2%, maybe. And I think it's significantly more than that now. I know like the BYU football team and basketball team has all kinds of non-members on it, which is cool. We've actually become pretty good since we've, you know, football and basketball, the last couple of years, we've been ranked in the top 10 several times. And so I'm glad they're lightening it up and trying to get a little more into the real world. I don't know what they've done about the homosexuality. So, like I said, I have zero problem with it. I have two of my best friends are a gay couple. And I have a friend who was in a ward north of here, about 20 miles, and he had a lesbian couple that lived across the street from them, and the bishop called them in and said, you know, the Mormon church frowns on homosexuality, and they just said that they were roommates. Roommates. And the guy let it slide. He's like, well, just don't act on your urges, you know, kind of like when you're 17 and they tell you can't do, I mean, you're not supposed to do anything sexual. So they let them slide. I don't know what the rules are for that at BYU now. If it was me, if I was gay, I would not choose to go to BYU. Why would you? Why would you want to be part of something that looks down on you and thinks you're a sinner? I don't understand that at all. I know a couple times in the last year or so, there have been protests on BYU by the gay and lesbian group, whatever they're called on BYU, for slackening the rules and stuff. I'm like, why even go here? Why go somewhere where you're wanted? Like, I don't care that they go there. It makes no difference to me. But I don't know why you would want to go to a school that thinks you're a bad person and your lifestyle is illegitimate and sin. I wouldn't. I'd find a school that accepted me and said, yep, you're just as cool as the next person. But like I said, to each his own. Oh, the hummingbird just landed. They don't land very often. They usually sit at the feeders and just hover, if you've ever seen hummingbirds. But anyway, that's my little 2 cents. I'm sure a lot of you got comments about this. I'm sure there are plenty of you that are BYU alum. By the way, I am a proud BYU alum. I root like crazy for the football team. I'm a pretty big basketball fan. In fact, I used to be a sports junkie. Everything, NFL, NBA, all of it, college. Pretty much now it's just BYU football, BYU basketball, NHL playoffs. That's about it. I've got too many other things in my life now that I don't want my time taken up by all of that. But I am a huge BYU fan. I'm proud to say I graduated from BYU, even with the crap that I dealt with. It's a great school. And I say this all the time because I want it to be clear. I know some of you tell me, oh, it's a cult, it's this, it's that, and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But I'm blessed to have grown up in that church. Taught me good morals, made lifelong friends. The communities are almost always super safe, very little crime. So all the stuff I'm saying does not mean that I've got lots of friends that are LDS and lots of family. Not lots, but I got family that are LDS. So anyway, that's it. It's time to go to work. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for checking in, smashing that like button, subscribing. I dig all of it. I'm going to read all the comments and I'll try and get back to everybody. Really appreciate it. Tack för denna gång. Men snackas igen snart. Thank you for this time. We'll talk again soon. Man, it's only less than 3 months until we go to Norway now, so I'm really excited for that. Have a great day. Peace. Love.